Hello and welcome back to the Second Take Podcast. My name is Calvin Williams. I am here with my co-host Marco Rogers, and today we will be doing a usual episode recapping college football, doing some college basketball stuff, predicting NFL, college football. You know the deal. Regular episode. Let's get straight into it. Marco, can you start us off?
Oh yeah, to start off, we'll talk about a little bit of college football. Obviously, as always, we'll start off with Michigan. We destroyed Nebraska 34-10. Never was there really a point where Nebraska had a chance, even though it was close for most of the first half. Michigan's pass game looked very scary. How poor it was in this game. I mean, JJ's deep balls weren't that poorly thrown. The receivers just weren't getting open. Michigan is a team that does like you see other teams in the Big 12 and stuff. They make a bunch of contested catches every game. Michigan, every time a receiver has a one-on-one opportunity with a corner, they never seem to come down with it, which is just not very good. Jason McCarthy under 50% completion percentage, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. Corum, this is pretty crazy. He had 28 carries, 162 yards, about 6 yards a carry, and his longest carry was 12 yards, meaning he pretty much just got 4 to 8 yards every single carry, which is absolutely crazy. A great consistency for Michigan's run game, but I'd like to see more out of the pass game.
Yeah, definitely. We continue to show weakness in the pass game. It's not just JJ's fault. In all fairness, our receivers haven't been able to get open consistently, and we're having to rely on our tight ends quite a bit, which is not something you can do when against a team like Ohio State, who will game plan against it and make it a lot more difficult to get those passes to those tight ends. Our run game hasn't been stopped yet, which is why we haven't really struggled. But if we do play a team that's able to compete with our offensive line, it's going to be really hard to get some offense going. Moving on, we're going to go number 4 TCU win in probably the best Big 12 defensive matchup I've ever seen against Texas. Definitely a gritty win here for TCU. Beating Texas, not an easy win. Going into Texas, getting it done against that many fans, 100,000 plus. This game was it was close all the way through. This is probably the only Big 12 matchup I've seen ever where neither team eclipsed 20 points. It was very entertaining, great defensive battle. TCU definitely proving themselves, continuing to have a great season. Marco.
Yeah, I mean, I'm now convinced that Quinn Ewers might just not be a very good quarterback. 17 for 39, 170 yards and a pick. Texas, even with people considered the most talented quarterback in college football, clearly not. Many people consider Bijan Robinson the most talented running back in college football, arguably the most talented receiving core in college football with Texas, and they do not score an offensive touchdown against a Big 12 defense. TCU's defense all year has been the weak point of the team. Today, they show some strength against supposedly a good offense. I'm not sure how much of this was TCU's defense, how much of it was how bad Texas' offense is, or at least played in that game. But very good performance by TCU. Quentin Johnston again, a very good big play receiver, 3 receptions, 66 yards, and a touchdown late. Just overall solid win for TCU, and they prove that they can play on the defensive side.
Yeah, definitely. The way TCU is playing right now, I have a hard time believing that they're gonna lose in the Big 12. And that would mean the college football playoff is either gonna be TCU, uh, probably, and then it'll be either a decision between two SEC teams or two Big Ten teams, and then one more team, Clemson. I don't know. Uh, and it's yeah. I'm not sure who it's gonna be. There will be definitely one SEC team, one Big Ten team, and then whoever gets two will see what happens. Marco.
Um, yeah, the playoff run definitely interesting. I personally think TCU has a pretty high chance of losing before the playoffs in the Big 12 championship and their next game, as I'm gonna predict later. But if they can win out, they'll definitely be a playoff team.
All right, moving on. We have number 25, Washington, basically ruining Oregon's playoff hopes. number 6 team in the country. Had one loss earlier in the season to Georgia. They got absolutely smoked, but everyone was like, okay, it's their first game in a new system, first game under a new head coach, new offensive coordinator. Everything was new for Oregon, so everyone sort of forgave them for that one loss. But here, Washington, big upset. Basically, Pac-12 almost completely eliminated, barring anything crazy. The only way I could see a Pac-12 team getting into the playoffs is if USC beats UCLA, and then a couple other things happen to allow them to get in the playoffs with that one loss to Utah. Margo.
Yeah, Oregon, this is now the second year straight where they're sort of in playoff contention. This year, number 6. Last year, they were like number 2. And then they lose a game that they just shouldn't lose. Um, Last year, they lost to Utah twice, actually. Um, and this year, I mean, they have a loss early, and then they lose to Washington at home. You're the number 6 team in the country, and you lose to number 25 at home. It's a big rivalry, I understand, but you just have to take care of business, especially a game that you completely controlled for most of it. Michael Penix played phenomenal besides the one pick late, and poor clock management by Oregon. A terrible call to go for it on fourth down with a tie game at your own 30-yard line, and that pretty much gave away the game.
Yeah, just a combination of bad play calling and bad play calling by Oregon, good execution by Washington. That's going to get it done with a lot of upsets. Moving on, number 9, Alabama, getting a huge win over Ole Miss if they want to even glance at the college football playoff. Definitely adding a boost to their resume, as this is really only their second good win of the season, as they lost their other highly ranked matchups. So Alabama gets a second solid win of the season. They looked all right. Ole Miss was able to stay in it for most of the game. Alabama was able to finish out in the end. Margo.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, looking back at who Bama has beaten and where those teams are now, this is honestly their only good win. I mean, they beat Arkansas when they were ranked. Now Arkansas is bad. They beat Mississippi State when they were ranked. Now Mississippi State's bad. Um, and here, this is their first like true proven opponent here in November. They get a big win. Bryce Young is phenomenal. He's been a wasted talent this year at Bama. Probably the best quarterback in college football, and his team around him is not very good in terms of weapons and defense. But very competitive game here, close the entire game. I will say Quinshawn Judkins, the running back for Ole Miss, is one of the best running backs in college football the last few weeks. He has really impressed me. Um, but yeah, very competitive game, pretty entertaining, but neither team really has any playoff hopes. So this was more to maybe sneak into the SEC championship if LSU loses.
Yeah, but also a SEC champion, Alabama, is hard to turn down even with 2 losses.
Yeah, they also aren't in the SEC championship as of now. So
Yeah, but I'm saying with an
will.
LSU loss and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then quickly, we're just going to go over these last 4 games. Number 7, LSU surviving at Arkansas. LSU not looking as invincible as they have in the past few weeks. Very tough win for them, but they were able to get it done here. Margo.
Yeah, SEC teams really can't play in cold weather. That showed today. I'm not sure why Arkansas was below 40 degrees, but I guess it was. And both quarterbacks showed that, throwing 15 passes or less. Both quarterbacks only completing 8 passes. Very run-heavy game. LSU showed that they can win in multiple ways.
Yeah, definitely a solid one for them. Moving on, we have number 22, UCF, winning at number 17, Tulane. Tulane's look good as of yet, barring that one loss they had. But tough loss here, moving to 5-1 in the American. UCF moving ahead of them. Tough loss there, but good win for UCF. Not much else to say.
Yeah, John Race Plumlee, the UCF quarterback, really established himself as a dual threat, going 17 for 30, 132 yards, a touchdown passing, 18 carries, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns running. He completely carried UCF in this game, and they are looking to make the Cotton Bowl as a Group of 5 team.
Yeah, next up, Arizona upsetting number 12, UCLA, completely destroying their playoff hopes. Now even a win over USC won't do it. And then Vanderbilt getting a ranked SEC win at Kentucky. which ended their 26 game SEC road loss streak. So definitely a little monumental game there. Marco.
Yeah, very impressed with Vanderbilt. I mean, Kentucky was super overrated all year. Will Levis, people were saying he should be a top 10 pick in the draft. Hopefully, this ends all of those claims. But yeah, brutal loss for Kentucky for the second week straight. Actually, last week they got a very close win against Missouri. But this is just not that good a team. And I love the fight that Vanderbilt has, led by young freshman quarterback Mike Wright. So impressed with Vanderbilt and very impressed with Jalen DeLora, the Arizona QB. Over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, really carried them past UCLA to get a top 15 road win.
Yeah, definitely a big one there. All right, moving on. College basketball. We are going to talk about some losers of the past week, and then we're going to do a couple quick predictions for college basketball. So, first off, number 15 TCU, barely beating Arkansas Pine Bluff, so tough game there, already not looking great. And then a loss to Northwestern State. This TCU team definitely overrated. Definitely not impressed with this team. Marco.
Yeah, very unimpressive. I thought they were overrated coming into the year, and they showed that. Next up, Louisville. Not a team that's ranked, not a team with very high expectations, but you're Louisville. Some consider them to be um, a basketball school, which they probably are. They're always very solid. Exhibition game, they lose to Lenore Rhine, a bad D2 program. They lost to them by 10. First true game of the year, lost to Bellarmine by 1 at home. Second game of the year, lost to Wright State by 1 at home. This is a team I don't think they'll be somewhat competitive in ACC play, and I'm not sure if they'll win more than 10 games this year, which is completely embarrassing for Louisville.
Yeah, I mean, this Louisville team has a legacy of being good. Obviously, what was it, 2014, winning the national championship, even though they cheated. They won the national championship. Now, 2022, the state this program is in is terrible, and to be honest, it makes me really happy. Hate me if you want. Moving on, number 22, Tennessee, losing to Colorado. That Tennessee team, in my opinion, was overrated. They lost to Michigan in the tournament last year. It just doesn't seem like they've picked up where their regular season left off. And that Tennessee team, like I said, overrated. I don't think they're going to have as good of a season as people thought. Marco.
Yeah, I mean, starting the season off at number 11 and you lose to Colorado by 12 points. Colorado, one of the weakest Power 5 teams. That is a very disappointing loss for Tennessee. And they're two teams, TCU and Tennessee, top 5 in football, two teams that are not starting the college basketball season off very well.
All right, moving on to some college basketball predictions. Marco, you want to start us off with Kentucky versus MSU?
Yeah, number 4, Kentucky versus MSU. Oscar Sheway, Severe Wheeler taking on MSU with Malik Hall, Jaden Akins, and Joey Hauser. MSU only lost to Gonzaga by 1. I was actually very impressed with that performance. I didn't think they'd be very good this year. I think this is going to be another well-coached MSU team. Probably will get into the tournament as a 8 through 10 seed again. And this is a team capable of beating pretty much anyone. Also an MSU team capable of losing to anyone. So I don't really know how this game is going to go. I'm going to take Kentucky by 8.
Yeah, I actually think this is going to be a super good game. We saw the test that MSU gave Gonzaga. MSU's returning some solid guys. Obviously, they weren't great last year, but they're returning guys like A.J. Hoggard, Sissoko at center, both juniors. This is a very solid team. I just think Oscar Sheboy is going to be too much for the Spartans. And I think this Kentucky team is very, very good. And I think but it's going to be a close game. Don't get me wrong. MSU is going to be one of the better teams in the Big Ten. But Kentucky's going to get it done here.
Oh yeah, that's definitely going to be a very interesting game. Next up, number 7 Duke versus number 6 Kansas. These two teams, if when they meet, this is always an incredible matchup. Duke, lots of freshman talent with Derek Lively, Jeremy Roke, Jacob Grandison, the transfer from Illinois. So definitely going to be a talented Duke team and a talented Kansas team. Both teams losing their star players. Duke losing Adrian Griffin and Paolo Banquero. Kansas losing Ochai Agbaji. But two teams, obviously, they're both going to be filled with 5 stars, being Duke and Kansas. I think Duke will win this game. I think this is going to be very competitive. Lots of exciting plays, lots of dumb turnovers. But give me Duke by 3.
Yeah, definitely gonna be a really interesting game here. Uh, two great teams. I don't. Just based on the start of the season, we haven't seen much from either team. Duke playing Jacksonville and SC Upstate, and Kansas playing Omaha and North Dakota State. So they haven't played anyone. But Kansas coming off a national championship. I think I got Kansas here. Next up, we have number 2 Gonzaga at number 11 Texas. This is gonna be a good game. Both teams very talented. I got Gonzaga here. They got that win over a solid MSU team that we didn't think was gonna be as good as they were. Returning guys like Drew Timme, who's been at Gonzaga for 15 years. Gonzaga's taking this one, but Texas will give them a challenge. They got good athleticism on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, this Texas team is pretty much a team of transfers. Marcus Carr from Minnesota, Dylan Mitchell, he's a freshman, Tyrese Hunter from Iowa State. We saw him light it up in the tournament. Timmy Allen from Utah. Um, So very experienced team, but not experienced together as a team. But I think Texas beats Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga is overrated. Drew Timmy. I think teams will start finding out a way to beat him after his 15th year in college basketball. So give me Texas in a very close game. I think all 3 of those games will be competitive, top 12 matchups. Besides MSU, but give me Texas in a close one.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great slate of games coming up. Next up, we have number 20 Michigan at Pitt. If Michigan wins, they'll play either transfer. They'll play either VCU or Arizona State. Both teams would have transfer players. Like if we played VCU, it would be Brendan Johns Jr. and Zeb Jackson, and if we played Arizona State, we'd play Frankie Collins. So definitely good to see those transfer guys. I think Michigan's gonna take care of Pitt. Don't get me wrong, Michigan hasn't looked great. Uh, Gritty win over Eastern Michigan, but Eastern Michigan's going to be a solid team this year. They'll win the MAC pretty easily. And I think Michigan's going to get it done. And then in the championship of this mini tournament, it's going to be close. I haven't looked at Arizona State or VCU enough to know how that game's going to go, though. Marco?
Yeah, I think Michigan should be able to take care of Pitt. This is a Pitt team that lost to West Virginia by 25. West Virginia is good, but not that good. I would be worried about Arizona State. I mean, I don't really know about VCU and Arizona State besides Frankie Collins, Brandon Johnson, Zeb Jackson, but usually Arizona State's the better team, and Arizona State usually a solid program. They'll be tough early in the year. Maybe Frankie Collins has a good revenge game against us, but I still think Michigan should handle both games by 10 or more points.
Yeah, I would agree. Moving on, we're going to get some NFL recap in. First, we have the Lions getting their first road win under Dan Campbell, second win in a row. Great win for the Lions. Justin Fields has been playing phenomenal, so getting that win over the Bears definitely looks solid. Lions looking good. They're a wild card team, if you ask me. Win out, make the wild card, win the Super Bowl. That's the plan. Marco?
Yeah, Lions beat a pretty bad Bears team who made lots of mistakes late. Lions are still not very good. Yeah.
All right, moving on. We have Commanders ending the Eagles' undefeated season. Everyone was saying the Eagles are overrated. I think that's a little bit of an overreaction. I know the Eagles haven't played that many great teams, but this is still an undefeated team. And they lost to Commanders here. I don't think they're overrated. I still think they're one of the best teams in the NFL. But I mean, it's really hard to go undefeated. I'm just gonna put it that way. Marco?
Yeah, I mean, Eagles are by no means the best team in the NFL, in my opinion. I think there's probably 10 teams that could beat them. They haven't really beaten anyone. They beat the Cowboys without Dak. They beat the Vikings, but that was prime time, and Kirk Cousins always sucks on prime time. Um, yeah, they haven't really beaten anyone. I don't think they're bad. They'll win the NFC East and probably go 13-4 or something, but I don't see them going very far in the playoffs. And after this, I really don't see them as Super Bowl contenders. I think they're NFC Championship contenders, but I don't think they're Super Bowl contending level.
I don't know, Marco. Saying that an 8-1 team is not top 10 in the NFL at this point is kind of crazy to me.
No, I think they're a top 10 team in the NFL. I said there's 10 teams that could beat them pretty easily.
That doesn't even make sense.
There's 10 teams that could beat them
Yeah, I
on
mean,
like
yeah, but that's
five
like
times
saying
out of 10.
like the Lions could beat the Bills. That probably is not gonna happen though. Like,
I mean the Eagle. There's probably 10 teams in the NFL that if they played the Eagles 10 times, they could probably win 4 to 5 times out of 10.
okay, sure, Marco. Next up, we have some NFL prediction. Oh wait, sorry, we missed the most exciting game of the year. Vikings taking on the Bills. It was probably the greatest game I've seen, the greatest NFL game I've seen in a while. Vikings coming down last drive of the game, or what we thought was gonna be the last drive of the game. Justin Jefferson making a few phenomenal plays. Then they get stuffed at the goal line. Uh, just crazy game. He's stuffed at the goal lines. Uh, so Josh Allen gets the ball at the goal line. He has to do a QB sneak, so he's not in his own end zone. Everyone thought the game was over, but then Josh Allen fumbles the snap. The Vikings pick it up in the end zone. Vikings now up 3. The Bills go down, get a field goal as time expires. So now we're going to overtime. Vikings win the toss. Vikings win the game. Marco.
Yeah, definitely the game of the year. That Justin Jefferson catch, easily the best catch of the year. One of the best catches I've ever seen. Um, Crazy game. Kirk Cousins has been very, very good this year. I think Vikings are a very good team. Uh, I think they're also NFC Championship contenders. But yeah, just big game, and Bills down at 6-4. It's kind of weird seeing a team like the Bills who are capable of beating pretty much anyone in the NFL with their talent, and they are down at 6-4, which is brutal. Dolphins take control of the AFC East. That'll be a very tight race going down in the year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not. I don't want to say the Bills like aren't gonna make the playoffs or anything. They're still like crazy good team. This is still a team that has Super Bowl potential. They just gotta string a few games together. Moving on to some NFL predictions. We have Jets versus Pats. Definitely a huge game. Playoff implications here for sure. Jets having a great season. Hoping the Pats don't foil it. Marco, you want to talk a little bit about your team?
Oh yeah, definitely gonna be a huge game. Last time we played the Jets, we won in a terrible QB matchup. Mac Jones is gonna have to be at least decent. Um, if we're gonna want to beat the Jets twice, it's a very good Jets defense. Two of the best defenses in the NFL here going at it. Two of the worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL here going at it. Going to be interesting, but I think that Brees Hall injury for the Jets is really going to hurt them. I think Pats win another really rough game against the Bills, and it's probably going to be both teams scoring under 25 points.
All right, moving on. We have the Lions at the Giants. Lions coming off a 2-game win streak, but this Giants team is like very solid. Daniel Jones, definitely one of the most improved players we've seen all season. Saquon Barkley having a great year. I think this is going to be a big game. If the Lions can win, there's going to be a lot of excitement going into Thanksgiving week at home for the Lions. I'm taking the Lions here. 2-game win streak. They know they got their season on the line. They're not tanking anymore. Lions winning here big. Marco.
Yeah, I think Giants are not that good of a team. They're beating a lot of teams close. I think they're very solid, and they impressed me this year compared to what I thought they would do. They're not. I think this game could go either way. I think if they play 10 times, they probably splits 5 out of 10. Um, but give me the Giants. I think Lions lose in a very close game as they do pretty often. But I do think Lions play them very tough, and this is still good motivation for them in proving that they're not that bad of a team.
Yeah. Moving on, we have Cowboys at the Vikings. I'm taking the Vikings here for sure. Vikings obviously haven't like everyone's like, oh, they've played all backup quarterbacks, and now they're gonna play the Bills without Josh Allen, and then they get the win over the Bills with Josh Allen. So a huge win for them. Vikings coming off that win with momentum, definitely top 3 team in the NFL. I would be scared of this Vikings team if I were the Cowboys, and the Cowboys coming off a bad loss to Green Bay last week, definitely taking the Vikings here. Marco.
Oh yeah, in my opinion, Justin Jefferson's easily the most talented receiver I've seen since Randy Moss. Already over 1,000 yards. It seems like you can just throw it up to him every time and he'll catch it. And Kirk Cousins, from the most part, has not just been throwing it up to him. Kirk Cousins has had easily his best year of his career at the age of 32, making very tight throws and making the job of the receivers even better. Uh, Cowboys back with Dak. They've been solid, but after that loss to the Packers, I'm not sure how good a team the Cowboys really are. I think they're good, but not that good. Give me the Vikings here at home. In
Yeah,
at, yeah,
I still think this is going to be a really close game.
yeah, one
Moving
hundred
on,
percent.
college football, week 12. The college football playoff rankings have not yet released, so we don't know the exact rankings yet. So we're gonna start off with Michigan versus Illinois. Illinois, tough loss last week, definitely making this game look much less impressive if Michigan is able to win it. This game, I think it's going to be a ground battle. Illinois, one of the better rushing teams in the country. Michigan, probably the best rushing team in the country. The difference here is going to be that Michigan has the best rushing defense in the country also. Illinois does not. That's going to be a difference. Michigan going to run it all over them. Illinois won't be able to get as much production from their backs as they usually do. Michigan's going to take care of business. Marco.
Yeah, I mean, these are two of the best offensive lines in college football. Obviously, Michigan has the much better offensive line, but Illinois is a very physical team. This is going to be another game where Michigan just going to run the football every play because Illinois' secondary is very, very good, especially compared to Nebraska. Um, this is a very good Illinois defense, but I think Michigan should be able to lock down that offense with Chase Brown. I don't think Tommy DeVito's that good a quarterback. He doesn't scare me very much. So yeah, give me Michigan. I think this is going to be a pretty ground and pound game, but I think Michigan should be able to take care of business.
Yep. Moving on, we have USC at UCLA. Big rivalry matchup here. UCLA common games. I would say UCLA winning over Utah. USC losing to Utah, but UCLA obviously had that huge loss to Arizona last week. I see them coming back this week, being angry. They're not losing to their rival. I got DTR and UCLA just having a huge win this week and taking the Pac-12 completely out of the playoffs. Marco.
Yeah, the Pac-12 recently has kind of switched into the Big 12 where they don't really know how to play defense. Both these teams have kind of proven that. These are two extremely talented offenses. But I think what UCLA can do that USC can't is run the ball a lot better. Zach Charbonnet's been a beast, the transfer out of Michigan. I think they'll control the clock a little better. USC will probably score a few touchdowns in 10 seconds, one play touchdowns. UCLA will march down the field, take minutes off the clock, get that USC defense tired, then at the end they'll take control and win this game. It'll be close though, very entertaining, great quarterbacks, but give me UCLA here in a close one.
Yeah. Moving on, we have Oregon or Utah at Oregon. Utah and Oregon both have very good quarterbacks. Cameron Rising has thrown for 2,225 yards this season. Bo Nix thrown for 2,775 yards, slightly trumping Cameron Rising. And I think that's going to be the difference here. Utah, they haven't, and although Oregon is coming out off that tough loss once again, this Oregon team has been very solid at times during the season, and I've just seen too much weakness from Utah against teams like UCLA. They just weren't able to handle high-powered offenses that Bo Nix can provide a lot of the times. So I'm taking Oregon here. Marco.
Yeah, Utah defense tends to do very well against bad offenses and very bad against good offenses. I think Oregon wants revenge here at home. I think they'll protect their home field this time, beating Utah and still having uh, Pac-12 conference championship hope and still Rose Bowl hope.
All right. Moving on, we're gonna do some underdog predictions. I'm currently 5-6. Marco's 4-7. Very interesting. Coming down to the final few upset predictions. Marco, you want to start us off?
Yeah, there's quite a few games that could be an upset. Probably some other games more likely than this one. I just feel like this is more fun of an upset. Number 4 TCU at 6-4 Baylor unranked. Um, the reason why I'm picking this upset is there's a huge rivalry. Both Texas teams very close to each other. Two bad defenses that usually has upsets when it's a high scoring game. Baylor's coming off a brutal loss versus number 19 Kansas State. TCU's coming off an emotional road victory over number 18 Texas. And when you have a team coming off a high note like TCU, very emotional game, and a team coming off a huge loss against in a game that a lot of people thought they might be able to win. Um, Baylor's going to be out for vengeance. TCU might start getting a little cocky, being 10-0. But I think that's the perfect recipe for an upset, and I think that this is going to be a very entertaining game.
Yeah, definitely gonna be a good one there. Gonna be interesting to see what happens, and this would be a huge game for like teams like Michigan that are just teams like Michigan and Ohio State, because the loser of that game, they would need this to happen if they want to make the college football playoff. Moving on, my underdog prediction is going to be Ole Miss losing. Number 11, Ole Miss losing to the Arkansas Razorbacks. Arkansas is at home this game. Definitely a tough SEC environment. All SEC road games are going to be tough. And I just think this guy, KJ Jefferson for Arkansas, he is so. He's had such a phenomenal year. 17 touchdowns, just three interceptions. That ratio is probably top among most quarterbacks. This guy is able to control the ball, get the ball in the end zone. Definitely just a huge player right there. And then otherwise, I would say for Ole Miss, everyone's like, what about Jackson Dart? He's been having a great season. The only thing I would say to that, he's thrown 7 picks. This Arkansas team is going to capitalize off of that. KJ Jefferson's not going to let good field position go to waste, and Arkansas is going to win this game. Marco?
Oh yeah, this game is gonna come down to if Arkansas can stop Ole Miss's running backs, and they really haven't been able to stop the run. Neither team really has been able to stop the run, but Ole Miss has the much better run game. I think they get a few big plays in the run game. I do think this game will be very close, especially if it is played in the cold again in Arkansas. Probably within 10 points, but I do not see Arkansas winning.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. I just love seeing these away SEC matchups for these top 10 teams. They're always scared because every away game, especially for the ranked teams, is a scary one. That's all I have for today. Is that all you have, Marco?
I would like to end it off with a rhyme. Going back to my upset prediction. If Blake Shapen can make some reads, TCU's playoff run will decease.
Ooh, great rhyme. Love it. Thank you all for listening to the Second Take podcast. We will see you next week. Peace.
Bye.